October 1st. We're bringing in the new girl to replace the other girl who's coming from Arizona. We don't know her from Adam. And that very same day, the other 2 women on my team, one of which is the young woman I've been witnessing to, got laid off. Very unexpected. Yeah, she's going, oh my gosh, yes, can we say? And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And my former boss got promoted and is now going to be the marketing manager at Wyoming, which is very good for him, but yet another change, another loss. I'm the only one left who started on this marketing team 3 years ago. And so I'm sitting in there going, feeling really guilty that I still have a job, because these 2 women, one's in her 20s, she'll be fine, the other one's in her mid-50s. It's a tough market out there, really scary. And I am devastated, and they're actually kind of relieved, I think, because they don't have to put up with the microman Ed. Yeah, they don't have to put up with Ed, yeah, absolutely. And they're actually feeling sorry for me. So we're sitting in my office. I was talking to the young girl, and she's crying, and but she's like, Joni, I'm relieved. This is crying relief tears. And I was like, well, hey, I totally get that. And so we sat there and cried together, and she said, I'm so sorry you have to stay. And I said, me too. But you know what? I think I know why. And I can't even explain it, ladies, but a peace came over me at that moment. I knew why I had to stay. And I looked at her and I said, you know, I know why. And she said, why? And I said, I have to live out Christ to Ed. And she just looked at me and she said, well, what does that mean? And I said, that means that I have to extend grace and compassion and forgiveness, even when he does not deserve it. And she was like, well, I don't think I could do that. And I said, you're right, and I can't either. It's going to have to be God in me that does that. Fast forward to Monday morning. I went in and had a one-on-one with Ed. And yesterday, I had my 3rd quarter review with Ed. And I can't even tell you the change in him. Joni, thank you so much for taking a leadership role. How are you doing? And when he asked me how he was doing, he had tears in his eyes. I think they were. I was about ready to give him a Kleenex. And I said, Ed, I'm good. He goes, no, don't lie. Your religion says you're not supposed to lie. And I said, no, that's your religion. You're Catholic. He goes, well, we can lie. We just feel guilt about it. I said, okay. I said, I'm not lying, Ed. I said, really, the reality of it is I am at total peace. And his jaw literally dropped. And I said, and you're not going to want to hear this, but it's because it's a God thing. And he goes, well, I cannot believe the leadership role you've taken. And that poor little Kelly girl that started on October 1st, the girl that came from, she almost quit. I mean, can you imagine coming into an office? Plus, and I didn't even tell you this, our office is under major construction. I have no ceilings, no air conditioning, no walls, no carpeting. There's light thingies hanging down. It looks like the set of Die Hard, the Nakatomi building. You know, the 32nd floor. Anybody tracking with me? I was sitting in there the other day and I was like, this is Nakatomi. Where's John McClane? Let's shoot a movie. You know, I was like, oh wow. So no privacy, no anything. So we're living out of boxes. So change all over my life. Imitators of Christ. Humbling ourselves, climbing down the ladder to be the servant to those who don't love us. Ladies, we are called to love those who don't love us. We are called to love whoever we're voting against in this election. We are called to love them. We are called to love the people who vote for them. We're called to love them. We're called to love every sister in this room. And you know, that's the easy part. It's really easy. It's really easy to love that. It is not so easy. And that's where God gets to come in and be God. You know, it's no easier to love today, but I'm allowing God to love through me today. My husband and I went through some counseling. We'd gone through a very difficult time in our marriage. He had a rage problem. I had an adultery problem, to be brutally honest, and a lot of other problems. If you put those two things together, a lot of other issues. Hit the wall in about 1995 and got into some counseling. And we were starting to see healing. I was coming out of it and starting healing. And you know when you've lived with an angry person and you don't get to be angry for 17 years, there's just a little bit of anger that's built up in you. So while he was dealing with his anger, I got angry. When he was dealing with it, I got mad. And I was done. And I was going to leave this man. I didn't love him, and I was done. And I even told him, it was a Wednesday night in August, and I said, you know, when I come home from church tonight, we're going to sit down and tell the kids I'm leaving. And I'm not taking them with me. I'm done. I can't believe how selfish I was. That's how depraved I was. Just, yeah. God wasn't done with me yet. Well, that night I was at church, and thinking I could hide from everybody at church, and my pastor called me in his office, and he sat me down, and he pretty much rebuked me for about an hour and a half and prayed over me, and he said, you do not have the right to leave your husband. He has every right to leave you biblically, and he is not. And he hasn't loved you the way he's supposed to. Get over it. Christ loves you, and you're going to make one more bad decision, the worst decision, if you leave this marriage. Well, that's all I had to say, because I was sick of making bad decisions, but I didn't love my husband. I didn't want him to touch me, didn't want him to be anything, tall, dark, and handsome, not looking so good. I mean, really, I was over it, and, you know, God, okay, so I went home that night, and I said, well, I'm staying, but you got to know something. I'm not digging you right now. I don't love you, I don't really like you much, don't talk to me. And he was just relieved that I hadn't left, and so we didn't have to put the children through all of that trauma. And that's how good God is. That's how good God is. Amen. And so over the next 6 weeks, God started doing a work in my husband and a work in me. But I had to see my husband broken, because I had been devastated, broken, because of the sexual abuse that had come out of the counseling and kind of put all the pieces together for me. I had been very broken. But he had been angry. Angry it would have been taken from him. And I was like, no, it was taken from you, it was taken from me. Why are you angry? So we were on our way to work one day, and he was taking me and dropping me off. My parents were in town, and they were going to take us to lunch. And on the way to work, he was asking me some very tough questions about my abusers and my past, and just making me very uncomfortable. But I was very honest with him about that, about the answers. So he dropped me off, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. I'm just going to go home and hang out for a while." I got a call about an hour and a half later, and he was weeping, and he couldn't talk, and it scared me. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, he just started weeping, and I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. He understood, and he was broken about his own participation in not loving me and not being able to love me and not being what God called him to be. And God broke him that day. On that day that God broke him, he opened the little crack in my heart that helped me to learn to love him again. And we started dating. He would leave the house. He'd call me up at work and ask me out for a date. I'd come home. House would be empty. He'd come and pick me up. He started courting me again. He started helping me to learn how to trust him again, physically and emotionally. And he started courting me. And probably within 6 to 8 months, I was pretty much like a tall, dark, and handsome. He was, it was very